live. Fisker Whisker to the moon. Let's see what's happening. Alright, let me try and get some stocks on the screen. Alright, here we go. Is retired young single. What? Alright, let me set up here. Let me try and get the stocks on the screen here, so we can see what we're looking at. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Let's detach. Alright, so we got the Fireside Chat. I'm a little unprepared because I didn't realize, the time came up so fast. So, Fisker Whisker, Henrik Fisker, and Gouda Gouda, I think they're going to pop on this chat and talk to us, let us know if this stock's going to plummet straight down to Puttville or head through the roof. So we're just going to tune in and watch and see what happens. There's music playing right now. I don't know if YouTube will ban me, so it's muted. But we're gonna see what happens. So just hang out and chill, and I'm going to try and set up something here so we can see what the stock's doing. Come to Sweden. It's a bit far, and I think I'm on lockdown. Alright. How can I do this? Maybe. Let's see if I could pop this out. Detach. What if I bring it over here? How about this? Detach. Ooh. Alright. We'll see if that works. Oh. Very unprepared. What's everyone thinking? Is Fisker Whisker going to go through the roof? So I want to see what happens after hours. Detach. What are you doing? Where's my chat box? Alright, what are y'all saying? Yep, I own Fisher and Fisker. You 100% believe this stock and company? That's right. That is right. It's going to do good things. Real good things. Presentation is not yet started. All right, what else is new? What'd I do? Busted it. Busted it. She busted. There we go. A lot of clicking. Another Hillian. We'll see. Alright, let's get the party started. How the stock's doing? It's mixed. Mixed, recovering. Stocks are a little beat up. Band-aids, bandanas, bandages. They're getting repaired. Buffy Buff on the wall. I got you. Hold on. I got tape somewhere. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, even better. We got to put Gouda Gouda on the wall. Gouda Gouda on the wall. Gouda Gouda. Let's get some good luck. Let's hope we got a nice little pop on Fisker Whisker from good old Gouda Gouda. Clean this desk up. Jeez, stuff everywhere. It's chaos. Yep. Phone's working. Fester might call in. You never know. Mike is on my ass. All right. What do we got here? 481 shares. You're 18. All right. Doing good. Clean energy stocks. I'm dabbling in the most, I'd say, and biotechs. Big A. A lot of biotechs I like. A lot of clean energy stocks. Listen, clean energy's just starting up. So, what we've experienced the last few months might have been nothing. Let's see if we still got music going. Yep, piano's still going. Can y'all hear that? My favorite ARK fund is ARK K and ARK G. All right. Ooh. Nepal. Cool. What's up, Jordan? All right, where's Fisker Whisker? Welcome to the webcast, Fisker. That's me. Best biotech stock? I don't know. It's a good question. Green flag. There's so many. I guess anyone that deals with an incurable disease as of now. Mostly what I look for when I'm looking for a biotech is institutional ownership. Look for, if you like biotechs, what I do is I find a few big dogs in the hedge fund biz that are really good at picking biotech winners. And then I see whichever ones they own, just like Kathy Woods, Gangster Woods, whatever she's buying, people buy. For biotechs, I do that. There's a few big biotech hedge funds that I really like. And when they take a stake into a company or add into their position, it's good to follow. Follow the big boys because they know what they're doing. They got teams of minions, ninjas, run around doing TPS reports all day looking for winners. And when he puts, 500 million, 200 million into a company, he's doing it because his scientists said, hey, this is a good buy. And then it goes up, mostly because he bought it. But then it goes up even more. Oh, we're live.
I'm very pleased to have with us today from Fisker, the co-founder and CEO Henrik Fisker, and the VP of IR, Dan Gauss. Thank you both for joining us.
Can y'all hear that?
As many of you know, Fisker is an asset-light electric vehicle company with its first launch being the Fisker Ocean SUV, planned for initial shipments in 4Q of next year. We will be taking questions via the webcast page later in the session, so please submit those, and we'll get to as many as we can. I thought to start off, Henrik, you have a lot of experience in your career as a designer. Can you speak to what's special in your mind about the Fisker Ocean product and how it compares to some of the other vehicles you've designed?
Yeah, I think first, it doesn't compare to anything I've designed before because they're all sports cars. But we took a very deliberate decision when we designed and created the Fisker Ocean. And one of my main goals was to come into the market with something that was a little different, unique. And first of all, the outline of the vehicle really is an SUV outline, and that's on purpose. I really didn't want to make it look like a crossover hatchback that most of the other EVs in this segment is. And secondly, I want to create something timeless, something muscular. Unfortunately, because of COVID, most people haven't seen it in real life on the road. But when you see this vehicle on the road, you're going to be pretty amazed. It's got an incredible stance. It really looks powerful, agile. It looks like nothing else on the road. And I think you're going to see that when you see it in real life. But also, I want to incorporate some really cool features that haven't been available in any vehicle before. And on the exterior, for instance, we got what we call the California mode, where you can roll down all the windows and push a one button. We are attempting to make one of the largest opening solar roofs as well, with incorporated solar cells that will give you extra mileage on the vehicle as well. And we're going to announce those a little later when we have optimized it. And of course, from the interior, we haven't revealed the final interior yet. It's going to be a lot more advanced than what we showed in the show car. I'm really excited about it. There is specifically one feature that I think is mind-blowing, and it's sort of the connection between the user interface and what we do with the screen. It's also something we haven't seen in any production car before. So I'm excited to show that. We probably will show the screen and interior end of this year or later this year, but I don't think we're going to show the actual user interface until we launch the car, because it's so different from anything you've ever seen before.
No, that's great, and a lot for us to dig into from that. And I wanted to ask about the reception that you're getting from some of the customers that you have. The company has a little over 11,000 pre-orders as of last update, and I'm sure it's grown since then. When you hear from these customers, what are they saying resonates most to them about the Fisker Ocean product?
Yeah, what's unique with us is that we're interacting directly with our customers, reservation holders, and even those who are interested in our vehicle, either via our app, or we can go out and make some surveys, and we get a lot of interesting data. Of course, a lot of data we want to keep confidential, but it's data that can really help us when we go out actively and market this vehicle. We've seen a couple of different things. I think a lot of people are attracted by the look of this vehicle initially, and that's always sort of the first judgment you make on a vehicle. And then I think some of the few data we have put out there in the public domain, we haven't released too much specifications of the vehicle. It's going to start at 37,500, go up to about 69,000. Of course, in the top version, it's going to be fully loaded. We also will in the top versions have really high performance. We have been able to do something unique that is not normal in the car industry. Normally in the car industry, you select technology about 3 or 4 years before you launch the vehicle, because you're going to integrate into the vehicle, which means when this technology comes out, sometimes it feels a little old. In our case, we're selecting the technology in the very last moment, meaning now, and that means we've been able to put some very, very new technology in this vehicle that we actually previously haven't even announced. So for instance, when we showed the vehicle in January last year, we announced we're going to have up to about a 300-mile range. In the meantime, we just decided on some very latest cell technology together with our cell manufacturing partner that actually will give us an amazing performance in this vehicle. And we know that our top version will have over 350-mile range. And I think that's going to be class leading when you think pricing. I don't think there's going to be any other vehicle in sort of the $60,000 range, price range, that will have over 350-mile range next year. So that we're really pleased with. We also have been able to add some pretty interesting technology to the powertrain that's going to give it some tremendous performance. And as well as we announced FI Pilot, which is our sort of autonomous feature system. We're going to come out with some features. We're concentrating more on features than just this ever dream of trying to make a car without a steering wheel, which I personally think is more than 7 or 10 years away. So why spend billions of dollars on that? Let's spend money on something that can really differentiate the driving experience, your interaction with the car. And we have some really interesting features up our sleeve we're working on that we're going to be introducing when we launch the vehicle.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. And you spoke already about some of the sustainability focus that this product has, a lot of recycled materials, but also the solar roof. Perhaps if you're able to, you can share a little bit more on the solar roof and how impactful that may be in terms of what it may mean for battery charging, or how much extra range perhaps the solar roof may be able to provide.
Yeah, so, first of all, we are aiming to make this the world's most sustainable vehicle, and that's going to be something that's kind of be really one of our brand pillars is ESG, environmental, social governance. And of course, the environmental part is a huge part, and of course, the product is the main part. So we are introducing some new recyclable materials we've just sourced and come up with together with some suppliers, which is very interesting. But also the solar, the solar roof, I see really as sort of the ultimate future energy source. Of course, we're not there yet, but where we can power, a vehicle to go, on your 25-mile trip every day. However, if you don't start with technology now, we're never gonna, get there. So we are working very closely together with solar cell manufacturers to see how we can optimize solar for the future. One of the things we are seeing in our calculations, and with this latest solar technology, our target is to get well over 2,000 free miles a year on this solar panel. Hopefully a lot more. We're still sort of in the final calculations on this and deciding on a few areas. One of the very difficult things is actually to charge the battery with the solar cells, because you're going to need some unique technology to be able to get this energy back in to this very powerful lithium-ion battery. But our internal engineers are working on that, and I'm very sure that we're going to end up with something that is going to be very unique, and something that I think is just a real feel-good factor, quite frankly, knowing that even if you only get, maybe the trip down to the bakery for your breakfast Danish actually was done on solar power, not using anything else but solar power. I think that's super cool. And if we can keep improving that to eventually your daily commute is on solar power, I think it's going to be awesome.
No, that's
It is
really
a fake
exciting.
background.
Maybe we could talk about the strategy that Fisker has in terms of how you go about manufacturing, product development, your go-to-market strategy, and perhaps how that's either similar or in fact different from some of the other EV startup companies. There's companies like Rivian, as one of many examples that we read about as investors or interact with as investors. How is Fisker's strategy maybe a bit different?
I think, we decided from the get-go that we didn't set out to prove to the world that we could learn to manufacture a car better than Toyota. That's not part of our business model. Eventually, we'll probably manufacture our own cars once we have learned it and we have taken a lot of knowledge in. Absolutely, why not? And you can take another maybe few $100 out of each car. But let's not be mistaken here. If a car out of the factory, if the cost of that is about $35,000, just to use an example, only a few $1,000s of that is the manufacturing cost. So it's not that much that, let's say you can take out $300-$400 or maybe $500, there's $32,000 left where you can take cost out. That's what we're focused on. That's number one. Number two, what we're focused on is to get a high quality car in the customer's hands. Not to say that, hey, sorry, we didn't do a great job, but hey, we manufactured it ourselves. I don't think that's an argument you can use with customers. And that's kind of why we from the beginning took this Apple Foxconn model where, Apple don't manufacture their own phones, they have somebody else do it. And that's sort of the model we have taken in this phase where we are launching our first product. Are we later going to manufacture ourselves or with a different joint venture partner? I don't know. We have plenty of time to decide that. But what this does is it guarantees that we're going to get a high quality car out of the gate on time. And let's remember, so far, there is no EV company on this planet that has launched their first EV on time. And at this point, we are still on time to launch in Q4 next year.
One of the things we've spoken about before is how Fisker is designing, and there's some flexibility in how you go about designing so that you're able to use your vehicle designs on different platforms. I think you call it the platform agnostic design approach. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think it's an important part of how you're getting to market with the time frame that you do have in mind, but also could be important with some of the follow-on models in terms of being able to design your products for different architectures and not just the Ocean, but some of the future products, either with Magna or perhaps other contract manufacturers.
Yeah, so my aim is to come out with as many models as possible, as fast as possible, and to do that, I believe that we need some partnerships where you can partner up on certain components which really don't matter. And it, by the way, already happens in the car industry. Nobody has unique IP, or at least very few has unique IP, let's say on a windshield wiper. So everybody shares a lot of the same windshield wipers. A lot of companies shares, the same spark plugs, whatever it might be in a gasoline car. So that's already happened. We have just taken that a little further, where we are sharing some very expensive components like large aluminum stampings on the platform, etc., seating frames, and a few other things that we don't really think is relevant for our brand to own as an IP. But what it does for us is it takes years of development out, testing, certification, and it allows us to, from the get-go, get much lower pricing because we have volume of those parts. Now, in the first platform, we went in and we started on a platform that Magna developed, but in the end of the day, this is going to be a Fisker platform. We have our own in-house crash engineering team, which does crash simulations, develop the crash structures, because we want a super high, over 5-star, as whatever the top rating is in 2023. We want that in our vehicle. And just so everybody understand, if you have a 5-star rating in 23, it's higher rating than 5-star today, because there keeps coming in new rules and regulations that you have to fulfill. So that we're doing in-house. But what's important here is that in the future, we are looking to collaborate from the beginning, developing a new platform. So we have input and the other partner have input, and that way we can together decide on some of these common part, get higher volume. And I think that's the key to success in the EV space, because everybody's looking for volume, and the only way we can get pricing down is volume. Now, Fisker, with our first car, we already have volume. So, investors don't have to look at Fisker and say, oh, we got to wait 3 to 4 to 5 years until they have scale, and now finally they make money. We have scale from the beginning. The first, cars we send off the line, we have the low pricing from our suppliers.
That's really helpful. You commented already that the company is on track with its plan to go into production 4Q of next year. Can you be a bit more specific, talk about some of the milestones that you've already been able to complete in conjunction with your partner Magna, and then what is still to come in terms of further development milestones that are left to be achieved?
I mean, you have multiple engineering gateways as you move forward. Some of the bigger milestones that we had to kind of get done here in Q1 was to sign off some of our bigger suppliers, which we have. We have already engaged with what we call the long lead suppliers. It could be body stampings, it could be all kind of different things. The cell manufacturer, we're already working with them, as I mentioned earlier. We're not going to announce yet who they are, because we don't need all our competitors to run over to them to ask for these great cells as well. We want to make sure we have our capacity, we have our advantage. So those were the important part. The second part is having kicked off the build of the first prototypes, the production intent prototypes that we'll be showing later this year. As you know, the LA Auto Show has been canceled here in May, which were the original plan. So I expect, depending on COVID, as we talked about earlier, hopefully we'll get over this pandemic and move on, and we can get some gatherings, because the whole idea is to show people this kind of real life. So I don't want to do another digital unveiling. So I suspect that it'll be sometime in Q3 that we will show this, our prototypes, and maybe even get some journalists in and do some driving late in the year as well, I could imagine. And so we are pretty much on scale with that. We haven't decided yet, where we're going to do it and how we're going to do it. It depends a little bit on COVID. And then finally, we're building up our marketing and sales team, something that I didn't want to do too early and spend a lot of money on, because we're obviously not selling yet, although we are taking reservations. So we're building up that with bringing in digital marketing people, strategic marketing people, etc., to really lay out a great marketing plan. And we're going to use a lot of the data we can generate internally from our existing reservation holders, where we get a lot of valuable data. For instance, we already know that 70% of our reservation holders have never owned an EV, which tells us that we should use a unique approach to try and get people out of the gasoline engine. And part of that is probably talking specifically about how great and easy and low cost it is to own an EV.
No, that's great. I'm sure we'll all be looking forward to that event when it occurs. You said earlier you've been able to get some improvements on your expectations around the range and it being able to use some of the latest technology. And you said one of the bigger enablers of that was getting some new cell technology, but I imagine there's more than just the cells. Maybe there's been some improvements as well in your BMS software, for example. So if you could go into some more depth, if you could please, about what's enabling the longer ranges that you're now expecting the Ocean to be able to have compared to what we were thinking maybe 3 to 6 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I know it's both the pack itself, it's related to, as well as the cells, as well as to the BMS. And in the meantime, we have built up a really strong battery team. And it so happens that I had a 2-hour review with them yesterday and saw all the latest data, and it looks really, really good. And it is a little bit a factor of that we move so fast that we're not working on old technology. Remember, most OEMs that launch a car this year or next year started working on this car maybe 4 years ago. And that's when they selected some of their technologies. We're selecting our technology this year, and the car is coming out next year. That is incredible, unusual. And that's why you're going to get some of the latest tech in our car when it launches.
And I think you saw, I think I saw on Twitter that you said Fisker may actually do its own pack assembly. If I understood that correctly, can you speak please to what your thoughts are on potentially doing more of your own pack assembly for your battery?
Yeah, obviously pack assembly is a lot different than assembling a car, because you're assembling fewer components, modules or cells, mainly probably modules into a pack. And the reason to do that, and we may do that in a joint venture with our cell manufacturer, and the reason to do that is because you want to take some of the logistics out of having to ship those large packs. So therefore, if you can do it locally right next to the plant where you're building it, and I think we would look at doing that both in Europe and eventually in the US when we set up US manufacturing, which definitely is also in the cards. We'll probably look at, we're already starting to look at location for U.S. manufacturing this year, and we'll probably make a decision this year of where our U.S. manufacturing will be.
That's great. I definitely want to get into the manufacturing strategy and potential for U.S. manufacturing. Was one of the things I was hoping to discuss. So maybe I'll save that for a little bit later. But one more on batteries, if I could, before I move off this topic. Securing enough cell supply has been a discussion in the industry, and I don't think you've named your cell supplier, but in terms of your ability to have enough supply, how confident are you that you're going to have the capacity that you need when you go into production?
We are very confident because we have worked with our battery cell supplier for many years now. We know them really well, and I think there's a lot of trust from them in our program. Remember, again, we're not here telling our cell manufacturer we're building a new factory and hiring people who's never built a car and hoping it's going to come out on time. We're with Magna, which have launched multiple vehicles, so they know that we are going to launch on time. They know our ramp up is correct. And that's something that's very important for a battery cell maker to understand, because they're investing heavily into a line for you where they're going to have to plan to ramp up at that point in time. So there has to be this mutual understanding and that mutual trust that we are going to be on time and we need this volume, and we have that with our battery cell partner. So I'm not worried about this at all, quite frankly.
Okay, no, that's helpful. You mentioned the FI Pilot and some of the advanced hardware that you plan to have on the Ocean. Can we talk about that ADAS system in a little bit more depth? I think you said it's not going to use LiDAR, but instead perhaps use some more advanced radar and perhaps vision technology. So would love to learn more about what you think that system is going to be capable of.
Yes, we have a digital imaging radar, which is the latest and most advanced, and again, a function of we're able to choose this technology this year. What's going to be really unique and advanced about our system is that we're looking at autonomous vehicles, I think, in a different way than probably everybody else. Like I said earlier, I'm not in a pursuit to spend billions of dollars trying to make a vehicle without a steering wheel that can drive itself. Maybe it'll come one day, but I don't think it's in the next 7 to 10 years for private people, unless you're willing to drive in a very small geo-fenced area. I mean, just think about it. Who's going to program an autonomous vehicle to take over a FedEx truck, parked in the middle of the road, delivering a package with 2 double yellow lines? If you do that, you're programming a car to break the law. So I think we're far away from truly level 5. So the way we are looking at autonomous vehicles, we're looking at it as a feature set. And I put that sort of into 3 categories. The first category is safety. So it's all about making you feel safe. And you can choose, what you want to do and what function you want to make you feel safe. The second category is what is annoying for you when you're driving your vehicle. That happens as you drive, whatever you do with your vehicle, there's always something annoying. Can we remove that annoyance? And I won't talk more about that because we've got some really cool features that we don't want to give away yet. And then the third part for me is the entertainment that you can create through the autonomous features. Meaning, if I can make the vehicle somewhat drive itself in stop and go traffic with adaptive cruise control, etc. Maybe up to 25 miles an hour, I can allow certain entertainment that I wouldn't allow going 90 miles an hour or 75 miles an hour. Because reality is, if you have a small crash at 15 miles an hour, you stop and go traffic, you'll not die. But if you have a traffic accident, at 75 miles an hour, there's a good chance you will die. So, but it allows us maybe in certain conditions at lower speeds to create some new entertainment value. And right now, the team and myself are working on what I would call a mind-blowing user interface that is so different, that's never been seen before. And we're going to try and use some of that technology from our autonomous system to enhance this experience. And ultimately, what I believe we need to do in the future, and what we are working on at Fisker, is to try to get this emotional connection we had with the gasoline car. How do you transferring that emotional connection to an electric vehicle? Because reality is, in the past, the human mastered the machine. In the future, it kind of looks like the machine is going to master us, but I don't really want to give our customers that feel. I want to put the feeling back in our customers that they're mastering the machine on their conditions, and I want them to feel an emotional connection on certain commands that they do. And those commands used to be shifting gear. It's not anymore. It used to be that we heard, the engine rev when we stepped on the accelerator. I don't want to emulate that. I don't want to redo that in a fake way, but we got to come up with other ideas that could make it really exciting to drive a car in the future. And that's what we're doing at Fisker. And you're going to be surprised.
Oh, great. No, really looking forward to being able to drive it at some point in the not too distant future, hopefully. We had some questions coming in over the webcast, and a few of them are on the same topic around sales and marketing, and you spoke to this a bit about not wanting to be too soon with that, but the company has a plan to scale pretty quickly in multiple continents, I think both Europe and the US. And if you could talk a little bit more about how you plan to go about marketing your products and perhaps also your distribution strategy, I think that'd be helpful for folks.
So, first of all, we don't want to use all our gunpowder, already, because we are not, really sending this vehicle out to customers until Q4 next year. So I think we have to be a little careful how we go about it. Secondly, we also don't want to give all the details of the vehicle away too early. So when we really start seeing details coming out on this vehicle and a bigger marketing effort will be third quarter this year sometime. Secondly, as I've mentioned, we are really ramping up and building up our marketing team. Secondly, we're launching in Europe and US at the same time, which is quite unusual for a car company, but that's what we're doing. And then third, We will be starting in end of this year to take reservations in China. So far, we have not done that, and that's really just for reasons of you have to set up a Chinese entity, which we're setting up right now, and you have to, be able to take payments and a whole bunch of complicated things. So we've kind of waited a little bit with that, but we do have a clear China strategy, something we have not talked too much about. So we have a very detailed marketing plan, a high-level strategy, but we're going to now work into the details. And one of the things is definitely going to be broadening the brand awareness globally. And I think we've got some pretty good things planned for that. But like I said, it'll start taking really kicking off sometime in Q3 and Q4 this year.
We also have some questions coming from the audience about how you plan to introduce the different trim levels. Right, there's some higher end models. There's a base version. Where do you plan to start? Do you plan to start more at the high end? Do them all pretty quickly? If you could speak more to that, it'd be helpful, please.
Well, first of all, I don't want to call our Ocean, even the intern level price, the base version. Nobody wants to drive a base version, so I've tasked the team to come up with a different name. Because even the base version of the Ocean, which we don't want to call base, is actually well equipped and I think it's going to have really nice performance. But obviously, it's $37,500, and you can't put every single thing in a $37,500 car. It's just not possible cost-wise. But we also want customers to have the choice, for those who have the means, to be able to order some other exciting things in the vehicle. So we have planned to make it very simple. We're going to have four variants. We're going to have the 37,500, and then we're going to have with three other variants up to 69,000. So it'll be one probably around 49,000, and one around 59, and one at 69. So it's sort of a pretty good walk every $10,000. And we'll put a lot of different and interesting things into these vehicles that will separate them from each other. And those things we will lay out, I suspect, sometime in Q3 this year when we show the production vehicles and kind of get more into details about what is actually in each of these packages.
Typically, auto companies begin by selling the higher priced versions to begin with, and then work from there. Is that how we should think about the Fisker plan as well?
No, we have decided that we will actually deliver some of the $37,500 vehicles from the get-go. I think we want to differentiate ourselves a little bit there from some of our competitors. They seem to be all doing that. Of course, we would be happiest to sell most of the fully loaded ones because we make more money on that. And probably we are expecting that this will be the highest demand in the beginning, but we will ship some of the $37,500 vehicles as well.
That's very interesting. Thanks. You also have a bit of a different plan for how you want to go about with more of a lease type of a model. Can you speak to that in more depth?
This guy Mark is so nervous.
Yeah, so we have developed a very unique, flexible lease model that I think is beneficial both for us as the company as well as for the customer. And it's really something that traditional automakers really can't do, because they have a dealer network that kind of prevents you from doing this, where the car company owns the vehicle. We own the vehicle, and that's not the way it works in the traditional car industry. In fact, I haven't even seen any of our EV other EV startups doing this, and at least not for passenger vehicles. So what's unique about our lease is that you can lease our vehicle and give it back anytime. We have a very high max use mileage per year of 30,000 miles, which is very high. Normally it's sort of 10 to 12, 14,000 miles. And then we will introduce a rewards program where when you give back the vehicle, if you give it back in a really good A+ condition and with low mileage, we'll give you a whole bunch of rewards towards another vehicle. The other advantages I see for us long term is that imagine 6 years down the line, we're going to have a 6-year-old Fisker Ocean, which we, by the way, can update with the latest technology over there, and we can lease it out to maybe a college student or a person getting their first job for a reasonable price. And that person can choose between our vehicle, which will have full warranty, been serviced and maintained by us, the OEM, versus a used car, which maybe had 5 owners. Nobody knows how they were serviced. There's no more warranty on it. So we're going to have a fleet of vehicles that's going to be super attractive later in down the line, and it's going to give us much more revenue because we are still owning these vehicles. And I think that's the long-term interesting part of our business model.
Okay, no, that's helpful. You talked before about potentially setting up U.S. manufacturing. I think the initial manufacturing is going to be in Europe with Magna, as you previously disclosed. Can you talk about more what you have in mind for U.S. manufacturing in terms of timeline, key criteria you'd be thinking of in terms of picking a site, picking a partner, those sorts of things?
Yeah, so we're already looking at states, and we already narrowed it down to very few states. We did a little bit of that already last year, and we're going to intensify it again this year, and I expect we'll make a decision this year of which state we want to manufacture in. I expect that the earliest we would see U.S. manufacturing is probably late 23, because we need to get first ramping up at Magna and get started there, and then we got to also take a look at what is the actual demand that we see for the vehicle, and that will drive a little bit the decision. It doesn't make sense to make a factory where you produce only 25,000 vehicles. You've got to get up to a decent volume. So we're going to have to monitor that. But besides that, it's probably a little too early to go too much in details of partners and everything else. But we will make a decision this year.
Okay, that's helpful. Speaking of volumes, the company is expecting to sell 200 to 250,000 units annually by 2025. Can you talk about how the company has come up with that projection?
Yeah, we look at launching at least 4 models by 2025, and then we're obviously setting different volume targets for the different models. And we have looked at the market. The vehicles we're going to be introducing is all going to be what I would call either segment busters or creating new segments. We're not here to just deliver another Me Too electric vehicle as we move forward. We have some real radical ideas up our sleeve. I've teased and talked a little bit about a potential pickup truck. If we do one, it'll be radically different. It won't just be another normal pickup truck, because there's enough of those, and there's a lot of great companies making great pickup trucks, so it had to be something different. And then, I've talked a little bit about, I was inspired a bit when I read about Apple making a car, and, I started sketching a car, and I sent an email to Tim Cook, never heard back early in the year to say I have an idea. Never showed the car, but it actually inspired me to really think out of the box, and I came up with a design which is really dramatically different, with something special things on this vehicle that's never been done in the car industry. And I realized, if we want to do something like that, we have to do it with somebody outside the car industry, most likely. So, that's a project that's sort of accelerated a bit inside Fisker. And if we come out with that, it'll just be a class of its own, something completely different. So we're looking at bringing out 3 or 4 vehicles before 2025 that I think, being in these unique spots, we will have a big possibility to potentially even pass that number of produced vehicles. I think we have a real unique business model where we can bring out vehicles fast. We don't have bureaucracy with 100 marketing and finance people trying to make decisions about which model to make and looking at historical data. I think you can forget about historical data. You got to look into the future. You got to reinvent the future, and you're going to have to take some risk, but you also need people who's knowledgeable and try to figure out what is it the consumer of the future wants. And that's where the game's going to be won. Who can truly figure this out? Because the consumer isn't what they were. Once we get out of COVID, the world's changed. Everybody's going to buy digital. We're a digital car company. I think people is going to demand different type of vehicles. They're going to be excited about seeing new concepts that's never been seen before. I think you're going to see a huge revolution happening in the automotive industry, and we want to be in the forefront. We want to lead that.
I did want to talk about the margin profile that the company hopes to achieve. A couple of dimensions we can explore there. I think one, as you and I have talked about before, even the lower priced vehicle, you think you could be profitable with that model and then build from there. So perhaps you could talk about how you think about margins and perhaps how that varies. But another one, and this is something we're getting a few questions on from the audience, is there's a lot of companies trying to pivot and accelerate their transition towards EVs. So there's going to potentially be more competition. So how comfortable are you with the margin targets that the company has discussed when you think about the potential for more competition coming in the next 2 to 3 years?
If you're the captain of an oil tanker, you can try and turn that thing as fast as you want, but it's got a pretty big turning circle, and it's not so easy to pivot from one technology to another when you've got hundreds of factories and hundreds of thousands of workers being used to doing the same thing for the last 100 years. And that's probably why we haven't seen, an electric vehicle, coming out just having the same range as a Tesla, for instance. And that's a fact. People have been saying this for 9 years. People are predicting Tesla's demise for 9 years every year. And so, yes, there is, of course, new electric vehicles coming out. But as I mentioned earlier, our advantage is our late decision making on technology, meaning we will get the latest technology in a way that we'll be able to compete with everybody else because of our unique development process. I think the fact that I designed the car, I'm the CEO, I can decide exactly what we want to do is a huge advantage, because we're not going to get these watered down design, this committed design, which we see all the time. And quite frankly, whether you make an EV or a gasoline car, if it's done by committee, it's going to end up being mediocre. So we don't have any committees like that at Fisker. We're making things pure and exciting. We're putting in new technology that probably a lot of other companies wouldn't dare putting in, and you will see that when we come out with it. So I feel we can take a really strong market share as we start delivering our vehicles, not only with the Ocean, but also our other future vehicles. So the competition, I'm really not worried about at all. I think we're well ahead of most of our other competitors out there. I think we've got a really exciting product. And then, our brand pillar of making the world's most sustainable vehicles is something that I think a lot of people are starting to take very serious. And it's something that you can only do if you're serious about it as a company. You cannot just, it's not a PR stunt. You've got to actually do it and spend time and money on it. And that's what we're doing at Fisker.
That's really interesting. You touched on this already, but hopefully we can go into more depth around the opportunity for certain digital and software-based businesses, and one dimension of that is being able to do OTA updates and keep the vehicles current and attractive to drivers. What other sorts of things do you have in mind about potential ways to generate recurring revenue streams when you think about having connected vehicles?
So if you think about our flexible lease model, if you sell a car to somebody and that person buys...
Thanks, Jose. That's awesome.
They bought that upgrade put into their car. So you sold that upgrade, let's say, for $1,000. When that person then sells this car to another person, well, that upgrade is still in there because they paid for it and it's their car. When you think about a lease model...
I think at this point we stop listening to Henrik. Mark is the star of the show. Mark's hilarious. All he's got to do is nod and sweat. This is great.
You give back that car to us, we can reset that car to zero, and now we lease it out to another person. That person buys the same upgrade for $1,000. That person gives it back, we reset it, we sell it again for $1,000. We can maybe do that 8 times over a life, maybe 10 times of the car. So that mobility revenue have never been realized before in the automotive industry.
When's Mark coming out with his SPAC?
Huge upsides. Combining our unique flexible lease model where we own the asset with a recurrent mobility revenue where you sell the same thing. You already only spend one-time money on developing, but you're selling it multiple times.
I got it. That's really interesting. We unfortunately have run out of time, so we're going to have to stop it there. But Henrik would like to thank you for speaking with us today and answering all the questions.
Great, Mark, and thanks for everybody that joined in. Thank you. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Trucker. That's awesome. Appreciate the support there. So, I think I have a UTI. Jeez, might want to check that out. So this This butt nut, oh, they're still on. They don't know how to close the thing. This is hilarious. Hold on. They don't know what they're doing. Oh, wait. Okay. It just lingered. It lingered a little bit. That was funny. They both were looking like, what do we do? Oh, that was great. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting. That guy was the VP of Goldman Sachs. What the hell? So, Fisker went down a little bit. It didn't really move too much. This chat, it brought it down a little bit, maybe 0.5%. So, it kind of lingered around. I mean, neither of them helped the case. We all know that production, we're nowhere near that point. So it's probably going to linger in the 14, 15s. It's good for just like day trading, swing trading. You're probably safe. Like, you could have your long now, but your money will be sitting for a while. What do you say? Q3? They're going to release some more information about the solar roof and a few other deets. Yeah, Mark's an amateur. Yo, Mats, you were cracking me up. I couldn't keep a straight face. A bunch of you were cracking me up. That was hilarious. Oh, my God. All of you had some funny comments. That was great. Yeah, so, I mean, we weren't really focused on Fisker Whisker. We were just looking at Mark. That was hilarious. Gita Gouda, where was she at? She didn't even show up. Yeah, Mark just ran to sell his shares at Fisker's. Like, yeah, this guy's telling us nothing. Time to sell. That was epic. Oh my God. I tried to have the stock up on the screen, but I dropped the ball on that. Next time I'll do it. But it didn't really move. It didn't really move much. Markets are closed. Stocks end mixed. Fisker Whisker. It's going to linger around these areas for a little bit more. And the solar panel thing was kind of cool. The roof, the solar roof. You could go grab a coffee. Enough juice for that. He's kind of keeping a lot of things secretive. Who knows if that's true, because anyone could say they're keeping things secretive and there's really nothing even there. He's like, yeah, we got some really cool technology, things that are mind-blowing, so advanced. What are they? Oh, well, I can't say. It's a secret. Okay, well, I have a secret too. My technology is better. Well, what's yours? I'm not telling you. So, that's a catch-22. You can't really figure that one out. So, Fisker Whisker, that's a wrap on the live stream. So, yeah, he works at Goldman Sachs. He's the vice president, I think it said. What? That guy? Stutterville. Yeah, I mean, Henrik, he's gonna... First of all, the SUV is nice. The SUV is real nice. I mean, one thing I do like is he's actually, regardless of all the other EV companies that are popping up, he's sticking with a far-out deadline. Every other EV company's like, no, we're doing them now. We're doing them now. And Henrik, he's like, we're good. We're coming out with them in like 4 years. So, I mean, he's very confident. I think that SUV is really nice. I'd buy it. I mean, I don't know what it's going to do or how it's going to drive, but it looked good. Imagine that guy, Mark, talking to the squad at Goldman Sachs, hyping them up in the morning. Okay, guys, we're gonna have a good time. I want you all to make us a lot of money today. Yeah. All right, bye. That's the morning pep talk? Jeez, this guy. He might be. That probably wasn't Mark. It was probably some fill-in. That probably wasn't him. Unless he's got a twin. Might have a twin. Alright. Good stuff. Quick live stream. Little 40. An hour streamy. I'll see all y'all on either YouTube or in the Discord. Adios, peeps. And thanks for your comments. You kept me entertained because I couldn't talk. Alright. Later.